All right. Welcome back to Tomboy Official, back to the pod. I'm like literally yawning because I'm so tired. This is a nighttime recording. I'm ending the weekend officially, but coming into a new week. Just food for thought. Just something I've been kind of not really trying to maybe attach too much emotion to, but I don't want to be negative about it, but also it's just something I had a curiosity on. So just some food for thought for myself and others, just something that's kind of on my mind. I've been, it's kind of come to my attention through people showing me or just stuff I've kind of come across here and there. LGBT content, but some types of more, I don't know if I'd want to call it mainstream, but kinda like series and stuff. I mean, I think The Ultimatum possibly kicked off something. Well, I'd say actually possibly Drag Race. And then from there we'll go Ultimatum. I don't know if I want to throw the L word in the mix because it's been around for a long time, and so is Queer as Folk. I would say Queer as Folk and the L word are kind of like classics. They're like classic, queer, high quality shows, high produced shows, that were, I don't know if they were both originally Showtime or if one of them was HBO. But anyways, they were both, they're older. So talking about some of the newer shows, like the Ultimatum, that one was very accessible for people. I'm trying to find these other, let me see if I can find these other ones. I think there's one called Hoochie Daddies. I don't know if that's the name of it. I think it's called Hoochie Daddies. It's like, and then there's Trans World Atlanta. And so I'm just curious, because I think I kind of experienced this back in the 90s. I could be wrong, but it was like, when reality shows started becoming like popular. So I know The Real World and Big Brother and all those kind of classic shows, and then if we go from there, and then like there were so many reality shows, but I guess the bigger ones, I think we got The Real Housewives of Orange County and all these Real Housewives and all these other types of Kardashians, and I know MTV had a whole bunch of reality shows with like Jessica Simpson and then Ashley Simpson and I don't know, Life of Ryan and Run's House and Daddy's Girls, with Rev Run and his family, and The Hills and Laguna Beach and all that kind of stuff. Like, there were all these shows, MTV, Bravo, like, all these channels were doing reality shows. But the point I'm trying to get at is back then, it kind of gave everybody a glimpse into, like, the world of, like, some other type of culture. Like, the real world was, like, back in its day, it was kind of like, oh, you have, like, unmarried people in their 20s, of different genders and sexualities, and races, sharing a house, living together, sharing bedrooms, showers, bathrooms, and trying to kind of make this household work. And there was always drama, but all those shows had drama. Like, almost every one of those shows had some form of drama. Like, remember the Ozzy show or whatever Ozzy Osbourne's show was, the Osbournes or whatever. I think, yeah, it was the Osbournes, and Bam Margera had a show. Like, there were so many shows where it was like, it was kind of like niche, like, whatever you're into. Was it like the wealthy lifestyles, or like kids with celebrity parents and they're like teenagers, like, who have access to, their parents' money and fame and what they choose with their careers and hobbies and interests and things and how they spend their time. Those would be shows like Laguna Beach and, Run's House, and, or like athletes like, Ryan and Ryan Sheckler and all these different shows. Like, you kind of got a glimpse into like their lifestyle, like how true it was or how fake it was. That wasn't really the point. The point, I think, was, we were all interested to see, like, how did these people live? Like, how do they live? Like, what's up with their, situations, and like what comes up for them, and like that, at least for me, that was interesting. I know some people like the drama. I don't really like drama. It stresses me out, but I really usually liked, like, oh, like, wow, like, they have these big houses and they go to this type of school, and like you get to just like see like what different types of people live like. Even with the real world, it was like, that was probably some of my first television exposure to queer people on TV that weren't necessarily like staged. Like, I know like Will and Grace and like Queer as Folk, like those shows were out a long time ago too, but it was a little different, it was like, yeah, they had, I don't know, like Queer as Folk, because it was a Showtime series, it wasn't really accessible to everybody. Versus Will and Grace, it was on like, I don't even think it was on cable TV. It was on like, just general television, I believe. And so there was a lot more access to Will and Grace, but Will and Grace was for its time, it was maybe considered groundbreaking, but compared to now, I definitely say it was very, like, like, there wasn't, like, a lot of sex, there wasn't a lot of sexuality too much, which is fine, I don't think every show, just because there's gay people in it, they have to be just having sex with everybody all the time. I mean, there are plenty of gay people that aren't, like, super sexual about everything, it's like, we have lives and do other stuff. We're not just always just like trying to get laid. Some people are, and that's fine, and that's kind of their lifestyle and kind of their nature and just kind of how they prefer things, and I don't knock it. I'm not saying people shouldn't be that way. I'm just saying not everybody is. I feel like that's one portrayal that you get of queer culture, is that, somebody who's queer is gonna be just that's the main focus, is like you're queer and now you're just wanting to sleep with everybody, and it's fine, if people do want to do that, and if people do practice doing that, it's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with having as much sex as you want to consensually have, like I don't see any problem with that. But not everybody is having ultra sexual experiences all the time. Just like in non-queer culture, there are plenty of people who aren't very sexually active. But I would definitely say, like, I've definitely noticed that, there's more and more people coming out with shows that have queer content to them. And I'm curious to see where it's gonna go. Are these queer stories written by queer people? Are they gonna, sensationalize all the parts of what happens in queer culture, in some settings, and make it seem like, oh, we need to focus only on this because this is what the people want to see, I don't really know what's really gonna happen, but I guess it might worry me a little bit. Like, The Ultimatum had a lot of space for a lot of just, I don't know, like, it just had so much space for so many things that didn't happen. It was like, like, there was some diversity to it, at least, but it was so dramatic. I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't even watch it. It was too much drama for me. It stressed me out. I'm not saying people shouldn't watch it. I'm just saying, for me, it was too stressful. And I don't know, like, I don't know what's gonna happen with the Trans World show. I think there's a magazine called Trans World, isn't there? Like a skate magazine called Trans World. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I know the company that holds my retirement plan is called Transamerica. I always like that name. But yeah, I kind of, sorry, I took some melatonin and it's been kicking in, so I'm like completely trying to focus but can't. But yeah, I'm just wondering if it's gonna be dramatic and sensationalizing all kinds of things and like bringing forth different stereotypes. I have a feeling most shows that want to go mainstream do get the pressure to do that. I mean, I think we all kind of know how it goes. Like, the thing that I find interesting is in this generation with millennials and Gen Zers and, other, older generations too. One thing that I find interesting is a lot of us are so tech savvy and ready to create content. We like to create content. We know what people, we can track analytics. We kind of know kind of like how things, like what's trending, like how to kind of get some buzz behind your content. Like for me, you guys can probably tell, I'm not upping the quality, whatever kind of zone and mood I'm in when I decide I want to record, even if it's maybe not the best of ideas, I'll still hit record if I feel like that's what I want to do. And if I don't want to record, even if I feel like I should do it, I don't really do it if I don't want to. And certain topics, I don't really do the whole... I'm not like trying to like rebel or anything. It's just I kind of try to stay more natural to my own desires and not so much looking at the analytics and the numbers and stuff. Like I definitely could get higher numbers if I was talking about like the situation like about Ashley Gavin, or even when I talk a little bit about like political matters, or when I talk about like, I don't know, just like things that are just really sexual topics, or topics like that. Like I feel like it's not that I don't want to provide value, it's just that I feel like if people want that, if you want the latest gossip on the ultimatum and what people think about, who might or might not get canceled about this or that kind of thing, I mean, that information is in so many different places. I feel like it's not like it's hard to find, so I don't feel like I need to keep contributing to that, trending type of set of topics too much. I kind of like to be a little more creative with things when I post them, even though I'm usually doing things like, I'm usually recording like, okay, I'm recording now before I go to bed, or I record in the morning while I'm having coffee, and then it's like I've got a whole day ahead of me with a bunch of stuff to do. So instead of like setting aside time to record and post and think it through, and have like a script or some kind of outline to follow all the time and stuff, that's not really the case with me. Like with this pod especially, it's very just kind of like I decided to hit record, let's see what happens. Unless I feel like it's really kind of that messed up of sounding of an episode, or that negative or that depressing, or that, like if it's something that I'm like, I might regret posting this, I probably won't post it. But I know how to do the whole clickbait thing too and all that. Like I'm just, maybe I might eventually go that route and decide, hey, I just want to talk about trending topics and kind of get my numbers up and get more subscribers and get more, but I don't think that's what people tune in here for. So I try to, talk about topics that are a little bit maybe off the beaten path a little bit, or just even just personal experiences or indirect experiences. Like today, tonight I'm kind of talking more about just how I feel about some of the content that's coming out. I love that it's coming out. I love that there's more and more content being revealed and more people making professional content. It doesn't have to be professional, low budget, low key, just throw it up on YouTube. That works for me too, but I love that, there are certain apps that cater toward the LGBTQ plus community. And not only are there certain apps that have, media features, where you're watching video and stuff like that, like you can actually, find quite a bit of content on there that's very valuable and fun. I remember when I was subscribed to SVTV, and I think it had what's it called? It had a show on there. I think it was set in Singapore, and it was these like lives of like three Asian dudes. It was a short series, maybe 3 to 6 episodes, and it just showed this one dude who was kind of really looking to get involved in a relationship with somebody, but just kind of the struggles of the dating world as a gay male. And he was finding it that most people just want to hook up, or it's hard to like find a connection in a relationship. Like, he was looking for an actual boyfriend, longer term, monogamous, and he was just it seems like that is something that I've noticed a lot of my gay male friends don't have the easiest time with finding. But I don't know, like, I mean, they exist, obviously they exist, but it's just something I've noticed, is that it's harder to find for some groups of people. And there's definitely a lot of apps and different ways to get content that's not through the mainstream method. You might have to go a little bit out of your way to find some unique shows out there, but I definitely recommend it. Not just the ones that are the high promotion shows, but venturing out into some of the other shows. Try and get free trials for stuff, and get the 3-day or 1 week or whatever when you have the chance, and get some free trials and consume some LGBT content. And I think it's really cool, like the lower budget stuff or the indie stuff or the like, I still am like excited for that series called Queerious. That was one of my favorites that I had found or heard about, because I think I was following some of the people involved who were talking about it before it even released. And it's primarily, I want to say, queer, black. I think all the characters were black. I think the production was multicultural in general. Like, all the people involved in the project was multicultural, but I think the cast, I don't know, there might have been other races in there, but I don't really remember them. If they were in there, I don't think they had like big parts. There weren't a lot of, like, the cast wasn't huge. It was like 10 people at most, maybe like 9 people, 8 people. It was a pretty cool series, and it's on YouTube free still. And I mean, it definitely had some drama and some weirdness to it, but it wasn't like a predictable story or something that you would like know exactly like what's going on. It was kind of like soap opera style. That's what I felt like it was, kind of like a soap opera. But yeah, and it had like multiple episodes. I don't remember how many. It had a lot though. It had quite a lot of episodes. I thought they were saying there's another season coming out, but maybe I misheard that. But yeah, like, I'm kind of excited to see what comes up. Even what comes up as far as just like having thoughts about these shows. I'm just trying to keep my eyes open. I don't want to get like sucked into some version of myself that I don't really recognize. And I mean, this happened before. I'm I'm a non-straight black female, you know, who looks and dresses the way that I do. Like, I haven't been represented that well in general in the mainstream for a very long time. And now that I see some representation, I'm like, please don't screw this up, But yeah, I kind of am just curious to see what's gonna happen. Not really a lot of like deep thoughts on this at the moment. I'm just kind of picking and choosing what I want to watch. I'm grateful that there's content out there and that people are being creative and putting stuff out. I don't really know. I'm not trying to discourage people from watching whatever they want. I just keep your eyes open, and, some things are just a fantasy. Some things are just for the numbers, we all know how it goes. I just have to mention that, because we all know when we create content, we make those decisions of what to create for what reason. And sometimes it all aligns, right? Like, sometimes you have a deep interest in something that's like, just naturally something trending. Like, for myself, if you know me well, you know that I'm, an alien enthusiast. So, of course, with all the media buzz around all these, like, hearings and things related to these UFO, cases and things like that, like, of course, I'm intrigued by it, so if there's content to be created by that in an appropriate space, of course I want to talk about it. But I already have been talking about it for years. It's not like it's like all of a sudden, oh, let me like start talking about this now. It's like, I'm in other spaces outside of this podcast, and I definitely talk about these things, even with my friends, just on a very regular, casual basis. Like, everybody who knows me knows that I'm totally into that kind of stuff. So, yeah, like, sometimes it does align when it's topics like that, where it's like, well, I'm already interested in it, and so I'm still gonna keep talking about it. Like, I've talked about, trans culture, trans people, before it was even, coming up so much. But this podcast is it's a little difficult to kind of peg, like, what I'm trying to really do here. I don't really think I have a focus right now. I think initially when I started, it was a different time. I was in a different place. I was, just different goals. At first I was just venting about stuff, and, also was around a lot of queer community and very interactive with a lot of queer people. And so I had so much to kind of record about, because I was having so many experiences with so many people and so many things. But, since I've moved, things have shifted a lot. I don't go out even like half as much as I used to. I don't get to see those same people as much as I'd like. And even when I do, it's like, usually kind of, I prefer like a more intimate setting with friends, even though we still definitely rave and party and everything. But, I'm not just trying to like go down to San Diego just to like hang out at a bar and then come all the way back. It's like, I want to actually talk and like catch up, So, yeah, it's kind of stuff like that where I'm like, okay. But yeah, like, I'm not gonna stop posting on here. I mean, maybe eventually I will, but for now I still tend to keep posting. I just, there's not really a lot on my mind. Like I've mentioned before, when I'm in this house, I just feel pretty stifled. I don't feel as open. I don't feel as safe or as, not that I'm unsafe, I just don't feel like my ego doesn't feel as safe, if you want to put it that way. Like I'm kind of very hyper aware of the stigma about a lot of the ways that I live my life. There's this big like cloud of like religious stigma in the air of the environment where I'm living right now. So it's kind of like, I'm not quite walking on eggshells, but I know the rules and expectations, and I kind of don't really have the energy to kind of rock the boat at all. Like, I don't need to be having drama with people or having to explain that this is just how I do things, when I know that it's going to bother them. So I'm just kind of like, I can just wait until I take a trip and go out of town, and I'll go do those things when I go out of town. But when I'm here, unless I'm like hanging out with friends and doing stuff, I'm usually just to myself doing my own thing, and gym, eat, cook, a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of working. Like I don't really do some creative stuff, and I don't really do all that much as far as like going out and having experiences in queer settings. Like I just don't. Like I'm barely even comfortable recording in this house. Like I literally, before I started this recording, made sure that there was nobody within ear reach of me recording. So it's stuff like that that's like I don't really have full freedom. I mean, I'm not gonna get kicked out or get in trouble or whatever. It's just I just don't want to talk about it. I don't want any debates. I don't want anybody trying to debate me on anything or challenge me on anything or try to disagree or insert their opinions. I just try to keep any and all opinions on certain things just away from my ears. Like I just don't think I want to deal with it. So I just don't. Like I just don't bring anything up in a way that's going to make it so I have to deal with it. And that's just how I've been living. And so it's kind of really kind of like stifled, like I can't really do much, I mean, once I get a place, I'll be able to like do whatever, but it's like for now I kind of can't like fully live my life the way that I want to live it. Like I was when I was in San Diego, I did whatever the heck I wanted whenever the heck I felt like it. The only thing really holding me back was the fact that I had those housemates and a low pay rate job. So, it wasn't that bad, really. Like, but yeah, I basically, that's kind of all I've been dealing with, and that's why you'll notice that I don't record as much. It's not that I don't care, it's not that I don't want to, it's just that, I mean, what am I gonna say? Like, it's just gonna be me every day saying the same thing, like, okay, I didn't do anything that was like specifically like everything I do is like queer anyways, like, you know what I mean? Because I'm a queer person, so everything I do is a queer thing, but it doesn't mean that it's like culturally queer necessarily. Like every day when I get up and I get dressed, knowing that I'm gonna walk out the door, I know how I look. That's already a decision I make every single day of a decision for my own comfort and style. And I make that decision every day. And it's consistently the same type of style, you know? And, I just, I don't think that I have to be, in a relationship or trying to date or, doing any kind of, like, really openly, like, like queer activism or any type of stereotypical things. Just every day when I wake up, I am who I am, and I deal with my life the way that I deal with it, and, I do it as a queer person. And so it's kind of hard to really tease out, like, okay, what do I talk about? Like, I talk about my daily life pretty regularly. I post about it, and it's like, I don't think my life is that different than most people's. Like, overall, if I didn't, like, mention certain things, I think most people wouldn't really know too much, like, to assume sexuality-wise or whatever. They might, but maybe not. And that's fine, But, yeah, it can be a little challenging to try to explain, or to try to, talk about current experiences about things. It's like sometimes I'm just literally going about my daily life. Like, I don't really know what's important to people and what's not, for the most part. I know on a podcast like this, it's like, okay, if there's anything related to gender or sexuality, people want to hear that. But it's like, everything I do is kind of going to be related to that. So there's not really much that I think I really say that's that different. But there are definitely some episodes where I've talked about all kinds of things. But yeah, I'm just not having a whole lot of, like, openly queer experiences. So I just deal with what I deal with when I go places, and when I meet people and when I do things. Things just come up on a regular basis. And I don't even talk about all of them, I think sometimes I just sometimes I just get to kind of do what I'm doing, but alright guys, I'm getting pretty tired. I told myself I'm gonna try to go to bed before 10 p.m. so we're reaching that limit, and I'll see when I post this, but thanks for listening.